YouTube channel. I'm Liam, and I'm an AFL Fantasy SuperCoach just lover, so I would love to share my insights with you. So I'll be doing a review each week, and I'll be adding some tips in as well for you guys as well. So you can look at my team for this coming week. It might change a little bit over the next couple of days, but I'm happy with it at this very moment. So we'll start in the back line, where I've got a 4 primo strong defence with Rory Laird, who I think is going to be challenging Lloyd possibly for number 1 defender this year. His midfield role just suits him to a T, and as you saw last year, he racked up in there. So keen to see what he does this year. With Caleb Daniels, just these new rules were going to suit him. You saw in the practice match, absolutely dominated. And I looked forward to seeing him racking up massive numbers. There is a worry of a tag, but not early on. Collingwood, it could be a bloodbath on Friday for Daniel owners. And then I've gone with Tommy Stewart. He's just a rock back there. He's just doesn't let you down. He loves that cheap little kick in the back line and bombs it long. So, and in the prac, he just did what he did. He scored 133, and I think he was just jogging around. So I feel like he's one of the value defenders, because I feel like he'll be in the top 6 and priced at 530. It's very nice. And another value defender is who's going to play tomorrow night. The first time I've had him ever in one of my teams is Jaden Short. Again, like Daniel, these new rules suit him to a T, and I can't wait to see him racking up. It might not be 40 possessions each week, but he's run off the back line. Richmond will be looking to use him every single second. Now, my first mid pricer is Jordan Clark, but he's in his preseason game just absolutely looked dominant and looked completely different as he entered in the last couple of years. So keen to see how he goes. And for 240, it's hard to ignore him posting 500k type numbers. His job security is a bit but we will hopefully see him dominate and not have to worry about that. And then this is where it's tough with the rookie defenders this year. Not much on top of offer. These 3 might even not play, but at the moment, Highmore, Kaziski, and Murray's a sneaky one. He's been injured. He got injured recently, but the Crows have been talking him up a little bit, so he might get a little gig early. And if he doesn't play early on, he might still be useful come later rounds. So with my midfield, it looks fairly weakish compared to other years, but with the 2 big rucks and stacking up the defence, you need to take a hit somewhere. So McRae, Merritt speak for themselves. They're just ball magnets and hard to ignore. And you need a couple of these premiums to start the season. If you start none, you have to find the money to get all 8 by the end of the season. But if you start 2, it makes it a little bit easier. Rao, underpriced, I feel. Saw in his preseason game, contested beast, so his ceiling will be very nice. Along with Taranto, who might not have the best DT to Supercoach ratio with his poor skills, but I feel like he's just going to rack up. And no matter what, if he has a good, efficient game, could be seeing some big numbers. I expect him to average around the 105 mark this season, which is handy for 450. Now, I've loaded up on a few mid-forwards in the midfield, as the 4 rookies do look pretty decent this year, so chucked all mid-forward rookies in my midfield to help with the having 3 bench options as well. Paddy Dow plays in the midfield. I feel like it did look a bit off in his last game, but he averages 70 and looks to have the role. He just needs to nail it down. He'll be handy at 200. Campbell looks gun off the half-back line, and I expect him to average between 70-75 for the season. And Sydney will be looking to get the ball in his hands. They're a young side, so he will have no job security worried at all. Tom Powers, another little fancy pickler, I feel like, and his job security at North will look, and hopefully he might play, but in that sort of team, he looks to be a decent pick to average about 60-70. And Errol Goulden, along with Campbell, I feel like his job security is pretty safe, and so a safe rookie on field that could average 60, and it'd be handy if he sticks around for a bit, makes 150-200k, and then we can offload him up to a premium during the buys. And Brockman, McNeil and Scott are just rookies that probably McNeil and Scott have already been named, and Brockman might be named later in the week, and they're solid bench options. Bulldogs love racking up fantasy scores, so hopefully Scott and McNeil can add to that and make a little bit of coin. And then moving on to the rucks, I've just gotten the big 2. I know there's very big temptation with Meek, Hunter, but these 2 are hard to ignore, and even if you start the other 2, they take forever to reach one of these guys, and with limited trades, you just do not want to be wasting them. So I really want Big Max and Gawn, and Big Max and Grundy and Gawn's fixtures in the first couple of weeks. Just look, who's going to stop him? They worry about playing forward, but I feel like 150 average for the first 4 is guaranteed for Gawn, and I might even see a price rise. And as captain, it's just a bonus. And then moving on to the forwards, I've actually loaded up compared to most people around here so far. Most people were looking at one or 2 forward premiums, so I feel like Danger, Dunkley and Phillips all hold value, with Dangerfield moving back into the midfield and hopefully play there for the whole season. There is a worry that he might get a rest during the middle of the season. Geelong have put that forward for most of their players, but he is a SuperCoach headache that you don't own him, and he seems to just pick up points even just on the bench. So it's just a player to have and watch him rack up points in your team and not in others. Dunkley, who knows what his role will be with Trelaw, but again, Bulldogs just rack up no matter how many they play. I feel like it's just Trelaw's taken the Bailey Smith role, and Dunkley would play the same role as he did last season, which I feel like he can match that or even go better. Phillips, again, a role check of new team, and he averaged like 90 odd for Collingwood in a similar position, and that's unders for his price, so he'd probably end up as a top 8 forward. That's my reason for keeping him. Zeeble, North are just shit this year, so I feel like he's going to get a few possessions down back. He might not be the most cool pick to have, but I feel like he's safe at that price and probably could average 75-80, taking a few kick-outs and just having the ball down his end. Danaher's a risky one, I feel, but his price is just pretty good, where he could kick 4 or 5, score his 100, and that will help his price rise, get up to about the 350-400 mark, which we will want, and then offload him to a forward premium we're seeing going well, but hopefully he does his job and not get injured throughout the season, which would be a pain, but he's not the worst price. He can just go down to a forward rookie who's booming if he does get injured. Warner, Bergman, Rowe are safe at this very moment, but could could be Jones, or could move Rodman down and get Jordan in. But in the end, I feel like these are a safe option. I feel like Warner played a very good game in his practice match, so hopefully he can repeat that. And Rose is a fairly safe pick, along with Bergman, who's playing a terrible team this week. So if he gets a name, might play him on field. So thanks for listening to my first team recap. I will be doing this for AFL Fantasy and maybe AFL Real Dream Team. I finished 32nd last year, so I hope I can give you some insight on my team and hopefully we go well through this season. I've got my socks and hat from last year and I'm hoping to go one better and get my cash. So good luck for all your starting teams and thank you for listening.